guys. So, I think that a lot of what's going on in the world right now, honestly, is more or less about a choice instead of control, instead of a collapse, instead of anything else. I want to give you guys a little bit of a story. Back whenever we first were moving all of the chickens here, so several months ago, we were really focused on getting certain ones. And then it was grabbing as many as we could. And then it became, we're going to try to grab all of them, but if some stay behind, we don't care. So we ended up moving all of the chickens here except for 4 roosters. And I keep thinking about those 4 roosters a lot lately. So those 4 roosters, they were part of what we always referred to as the feral flock because they never were mingled in with the rest of the flock. There were several hens that had originally been with them, but we were able to catch them to bring them here. That feral flock, they kept separate from the rest of the chickens, which made them extremely difficult to catch. They didn't even eat chicken feed. They would go fly out. They lived in the back side of the barn with the goats. They would fly out the back area of the barn and they would stay in the woods. They would stay away from everything else, away from everyone else. They didn't even have names. They were just anonymous chickens, just off doing their own thing. They would come back in every night. We would lock them in the barn with everybody else. And then as soon as morning would come, they'd fly right out. They'd be gone. They were not mixed in at all. We love our animals very, very, very much. We take our self-sufficiency and our level of sustainability on our farm extremely seriously. So we had intended on going back and getting those roosters, bringing them here so that way we could butcher them, or butchering them there so that way we had that meat. But after we got all the animals here, we just were like, you know what, it doesn't matter. Those 4 roosters do not matter. They're not hurting us. They're not hurting anybody else. They're not, they're going to do their own thing. They're going to live their own lives. And honestly, they're still alive. They're doing well. They actually moved to a neighboring farm and stuff. Like they moved themselves. They decided, you know what? We've been here a long time. We've been out of the rest of our flock. We haven't had any ladies around. Let's go look for something else. Let's go see what else is out there and stuff. But anyways, I keep thinking about those 4 roosters and how in this collapse, it's basically it feels like it's a big grab for control. Like all of this control, like, oh, we got to control the masses. Just like we had to control those chickens. Just like we wanted to get as many of those chickens moved to here as possible so that way we had control over where they laid their eggs, where they hatched out chicks, what kind of food they were eating, and a million other things. We wanted to have total control because they are our property. We own them. However, that feral flock, they were just always on the outskirts. It was like they were never one with anybody else. They were just on their own, doing their own thing this whole time, not hurting anybody, not doing anything wrong, just they figured out how to live off the land. And I keep thinking about that story of the 4 roosters and stuff, and I keep thinking about how that really ties into what is happening now, of how in other countries there's a lot of talks about rations and doing different things and digital IDs and all of this stuff. And I know that I'm putting myself and my farm like in danger of all of the craziness and stuff, like low-key in danger and stuff of, people knowing inventory, seeing what we have, knowing our animals and, knowing details about my life. But I feel really called by God that I'm supposed to share, that I'm supposed to share what I know, what I feel, what I interpret the world, how I view things, what I think is happening. So I keep thinking about those 4 roosters and how that really ties in with the things that are happening now, of how it really seems like there's a lot of control that's been sought and stuff. And I feel like a lot of people are being afraid and they're not realizing that they are in that feral flock. The people that aren't in that feral flock are the ones that are doing similar things to me, that are living off the land, that are trying their best, that are trying like hell to figure out how to do this thing, how to become as self-sufficient as possible, what it looks like to provide for yourself, how to be independent, how to think for yourself, how to love for yourself and breathe for yourself and just doing all the things on your own. I don't think that there's honestly any danger to the feral flock of people. I really don't. I really don't believe that there is. I believe that feral flock, that we all were called to become feral, to become separate from the rest. I honestly wholeheartedly believe that. I believe that feral flock has a mama wings like wrapped around it metaphorically to protect it, to keep it safe, to guide it, to show it where to go. I think a lot of us that are in this space right now that are seeking how to live off the land, that are concerned about the collapse and all this stuff, a lot of us are more independent than we realize. A lot of us are already separated. We've already been called to wake up. We've been called to see the truth. We've been given eyes to see, ears to hear, and a mind to know what to do and what is happening. I think that a lot of us have been called to really return back to the land, return to a way of life that is more feral, more wild. And I think that honestly, those that have listened to that call, that they will receive protection. I honestly, wholeheartedly believe that. That is something that I've never felt that I ever had to worry about. But I have always felt that I would be divinely protected. And that might seem stupid. That might seem foolish. We still have, means of protecting ourselves. For God's sakes, we have 6 dogs, large dogs, like very large dogs at that. But it's not out of fear. It's just that we were inspired to get them, inspired to do things, asked to do things, called to do things. And I think, honestly, as things start ramping up, as things start getting more chaotic, that it's going to become very evident that there is a choice to be made. That no one can be controlled unless if they choose for that. Like, look at the people that, I'm not trying to point out anybody's demographic or anything of the sort like that. Like, there is no shame in any of this. But the typical people, whenever you think of people that are on welfare, that pops into your mind of the people that are on food stamps, that are eating just, bags of chips and pop and things like that all the time, or going out to eat, the people that eat at McDonald's all the time. And, I'm not dissing on anybody at all, but I'm sure you guys can see the picture that I'm painting. The people that don't care about what it is that they're putting in their body. They just eat any processed anything of anything. They've already made that choice. There's people that only eat organically. That is their choice that they've made. We've all been called to make a choice. I think, honestly, the people that have chosen to, continue to put garbage into their body, to ignore callings, to ignore what they need to do, what they know they should do and know that they need to do, that's them making a choice. That's them choosing to be a part of the big flock, to not be a part of the feral flock. It's a choice, I think that, honestly, just like when COVID had happened, how there was so much division that had happened, I think it almost was to set the stage to see who is a part of the feral flock, who is a part of the main flock. I'm sure a lot of you know a lot of different people that have, stood up for what they believed in since that time. And it became very evident that there was a big dividing line, a big shift. I think that we're in the midst of another dividing line, another shift, another separation, another 2 worlds are pulling apart right now. So, yeah, that's kind of my interpretation of it as to what's happening. That's why I'm not afraid of what is happening. That's why I don't instill panic of what is happening. I just want as many people as possible to realize that they can become part of the feral flock, that they can start their own feral flock. If there's no other ones that are feral around you, you can become that. You can stand on your own. You can do this on your own. You don't need to have the masses supporting you. You can be alone. So, thank you for being here with me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for, I assume that if you stuck around this long, you are a part of that feral flock. So, welcome. Welcome to the flock. So, thanks for watching. Have a good one, guys.